You were the kid who kept asking why long after the grown-ups lost patience for it. And chances are, somewhere in your 20s, you're still doing it. Just more quietly now, mostly inside your own skull. Maybe it hits at a work happy hour, watching everyone crack up at a joke that wasn't really funny, and you're left wondering if you're the only one who noticed. Or maybe it's 11 p.m. on a random Tuesday and you're replaying one line from a conversation earlier that day because something about it felt off. Either way, you've probably spent years assuming that made you the weird one. Here's what nobody explained to you back then. That urge to pull back isn't a flaw you need to correct. Psychologists have spent decades tracking a set of traits that keep showing up in people whose minds engage with the world more deeply, with more friction, and honestly with more fatigue than most people around them ever seem to feel. 10 traits, to be exact. And if even half of them sound like you, I'd guess you've spent years silently questioning what was wrong with you, when the truth is, nothing ever was. Let's start with the obvious one, since it's usually the first thing people pick up on about you. You need to vanish after being around others, even people you truly love. It's not that you dislike their presence. Somewhere around the third hour of a group dinner, your brain starts running out of bandwidth, because for you, listening was never just listening. You're clocking tone, scanning faces, catching the split second a smile didn't quite reach someone's eyes. That's genuine mental work, and almost no one notices themselves doing it. So shutting your bedroom door afterward isn't avoidance, it's recovery. That same brain, the one pulling unpaid overtime at dinner, has another habit that gets it in trouble both at the office and at home. Someone hands you an answer, and instead of tucking it away, your mind quietly cracks open another question. Why is that actually true? What's underneath it? You've probably been told to stop overthinking, to just move on. Respectfully, no. Psychologists Cacioppo and Petty coined a phrase back in the early 1980s called need for cognition, and their research showed that people who genuinely enjoy hard thinking tend to process information more precisely, not just more slowly. So what got you branded difficult in group projects was really just your mind refusing to accept an answer it hadn't earned yet. That refusal has a close relative, and this one has cost you a rough performance review or two. You can't fake enthusiasm for something you don't actually care about, no matter how someone tries to bribe or guilt trip you into it. A teacher, a boss, maybe even a parent has probably called you unmotivated for exactly this reason. What's really going on underneath is your brain running a silent cost-benefit check before spending any energy at all. Is this actually worth it? Does it match what I value? And when the answer is no, you just don't show up the way people expect. That's not laziness. That's a filter most people simply weren't built with. Here's where things get a little uncomfortable for the people near you. You walk into a room and pick up on things nobody said out loud. Who's actually fine and who isn't? Where someone's words and their energy are telling two different stories. You've probably never been able to fully explain how you know. You just do, almost instantly. And carrying that constant, involuntary read on people is exhausting in a way that's tough to describe to someone who's never felt it. It also creates a strange, one-sided intimacy. You can leave a 5-minute chat knowing something real about a stranger they never actually told you, and there's no graceful way to bring it up. So you just hold on to it. That's a strangely heavy thing to carry around unnoticed. Then, there's what happens when things genuinely fall apart. And this is where people read you most wrong. When the room descends into chaos, you go still. People assume that means you don't care, or that you're detached. What's actually happening is your nervous system choosing to process before reacting. A rare kind of emotional regulation most people spend years in therapy trying to build. You just arrived with it already installed, for better or worse. That calm under pressure usually traces back further than people realize. You felt older than your actual age, for about as long as you can remember, sitting among peers, and feeling like you drifted in from a different decade. It isn't about feeling superior. Questions about meaning and mortality just showed up on your radar earlier than they did for everyone else, and you've spent a lot of quiet time waiting for the room to catch up. And here's the heavier one, so stay with me. There's a version of yourself you carry around, sharply defined, nearly complete in your mind, along with a constant, quiet awareness of the gap between that version and the one you're actually living right now. Most people make peace with their limits fairly quickly. You can't, not out of vanity or the usual kind of ambition. Some part of you simply refuses to stop seeing what's possible, even when looking away would be far more comfortable. That probably explains why small talk feels less like conversation and more like something your whole body resists. The weather, the weekend, the usual script. It's not that you think you're above it. It's that you'd trade 10 of those exchanges for one that actually goes somewhere real. On the flip side, you're one of the rare people who can sit with someone for 20 minutes in total silence and feel completely at ease, maybe even more connected to them for it. Most people can't manage that. Silence forces you to hear your own thoughts, and plenty of people fill every gap with noise just to avoid that. You made peace with what's inside your head a long time ago, which is a bigger deal than it sounds. Last one, and it pulls everything together. You've found friend groups, jobs, even communities that check every box on paper. And there's still this faint sense of standing just outside the room, even while you're technically in it. Researchers who study existential isolation describe this less as a flaw and more as a natural byproduct of having a clearly defined inner world. The more specific your mind becomes over time, the harder it is to find a perfect match for it out there. Every trait on this list has probably been used against you at some point, relabeled as antisocial, difficult, cold, or strange, by people who weren't wrong about what they saw, just wrong about what it meant. None of this makes you better than anyone else, and it's not a badge to flash at dinner parties you were already dreading. It's just information about how your mind is built, and once you actually understand that, you stop apologizing for it. You stop performing a louder, easier version of yourself just to keep a room comfortable. You start choosing the one real conversation over the 10 shallow ones, the quiet evening over the noise that was never actually helping. Nobody hands you a certificate for that. But somewhere along the way, the exhaustion of pretending starts to cost more than the discomfort of just being who you actually are. So tell me in the comments, out of all 10, which one hit you first? And how old were you when you realized you were operating on a different frequency than everyone else in the room? Before you go, a lot of what we covered today, the hypervigilance, going quiet under pressure, feeling like the old soul in every room, usually traces back further than we realize, often to childhood. If that resonated, there's a link in the description for the Childhood Healing Workbook, a 31-page self-guided workbook built to help you name those old patterns instead of just carrying them silently. Grounded in real research from voices like Bowlby and Neff, not therapy, not a diagnosis, just a mirror. There's also a 7-day guide bundle linked below if you want to keep building from here, one small daily step at a time.